Hey everyone, James Marin here, and thanks for tuning in to episode 3 of Crew Talk. Today's guest is Alissa Rooney, who's another fantastic and knowledgeable cinematographer. And in today's episode, we talk about a few of her favorite go-to pieces of gear, her philosophy on why every project is valuable, and how a good production designer can elevate your work. As always, the video is broken up into different sections, so check the description below if you'd like to jump around and hear anything specific. So without further ado, please enjoy this conversation with cinematographer Alissa Rooney.
But yeah, let's go ahead and dive right in. I guess to give it context to what we're doing here is my idea for the first 5 videos for this kind of series that I'm calling Crew Talk on my YouTube channel is to get 5 different DPs to answer the same 5 questions. I figure that everyone has a different set of experiences and workflows and personal taste. And so it's been really interesting to hear everyone's answer because luckily I've been getting a really great variety of answers for the same questions. And so to jump right in, the first question that I have for you is what makes a successful production?
Also, I looked over your questions, but I didn't pre-think them. So that's also
perfect.
good.
That's perfect.
It's going to be a dialogue. What makes a successful production? In my experience, I think having a team that is all on the same page and all has the same goals, where everyone's working together to make a good product and everyone cares about the product, and everyone's putting in 100% or 110% to make something the best that it can be, I think is a big thing that makes a successful production, just because I've been on projects where there's a lot of people that either don't care or show up late or just don't put in the work that it requires to make something good, and it just makes everyone else miserable. And at the end of the day, like, we all love what we do and we want to, no matter the position on set, I feel like everyone should want to make a good product, or why are you in film kind of thing, I guess, for the money. But I think that's a big thing for me, is like everyone having a good attitude and enjoying what they're making, because you can also have a project where no one cares about the outcome and things like that. So I think it has to do a lot with the crew and what they put into it. And I love having friends on set and people that I've worked with a ton, just because we make it a fun time doing what we love. And yeah, I think that's a big thing for me.
Cool. It sounds like attitude, or having like a good attitude from the people that you hire or choose to work with, is really big for you.
Attitude's a big thing for me. Yeah. I think that's a big thing. Like, I always try to show up, whether I'm having a good day or a bad day, like, it's not all about me. Like, I'm showing up with 50 other people, or however big the production is. And if I have a bad attitude, that's going to impact other people around me, and that's already going to bring the level of production down, I think. And so I always try to show up and, treat everyone the same way, and have a good attitude about what we're making and put in 110. And I think if everyone does that, then, you end up making something that everyone can be proud of.
Definitely. I think that's a great way to see things. And I totally agree with you about the attitude thing. I guess to follow up on that as well, and to continue down that path, is I know the trend for our generation seems to be try to work as much as you can. How do you sort of have the best attitude day in and day out on each and every project, and give your all to each and every project, even when there might be something that it's like you're tired, or perhaps one thing wasn't as exciting as you thought it would be? You kind of show up and it's like, okay, it's a little different than what you thought. How do you keep up that good attitude and translate that to the rest of the crew?
I think, especially if I'm working constantly, which I feel like it goes in and out throughout the year. Sometimes I have too much free time, and other times, like, I can't catch a break. And I'm just exhausted, but you keep taking the next project because you're like, well, I don't know when the next one's going to come, so I better take this one.
Yeah.
I try, especially like just at the level that I'm at, like, every project is so valuable to me. just because I learn so much and I never know like where the next one's going to lead. And so I think that that's the main thing that I try to focus on when I take projects, even when I'm tired and maybe in a place where I feel like I just need to slow down, is like, this project could lead to something that much bigger. And a lot of times they do. And that's, I feel like, how I've grown and have continued to get projects is not taking any of them for granted, and being able to see the value in a project, even beyond like what the product is going to be, is like, who am I going to meet on this project? Where is it going to lead? What am I going to learn from it? Like, there's so many more things to me, even when I'm busy, that are of value than money is, if that makes sense. And so I feel like just seeing all of the positives that can come from taking something besides just like a good shot for Instagram or for my reel or for like the next thing. So yeah, I think that's a big thing that I take from that.
Well, it sounds like you not only value the potential relationships that you could make on each and every set, but the opportunity that you're given on that day is really important to you. And because I think sometimes people tend to focus on like what's ahead, in the sense that, well, this project, I'll get through this one, but the next one I'll make better. I'll make the one, but it's good and refreshing to hear that you have this like attitude that, no, this thing that I'm on today is what's really important. And that's what I should focus on, as opposed to thinking that, well, the next one or whatever.
Yeah. And I feel like and this is just me, of course, like I never try to take them for granted, just because I know that I'm doing a job that's so unique, and I value it so much, and I want to continue to do it for the rest of my life. And so it's like, who knows, like, if anyone's ever going to contact me, like, this could be like, when I'm on a project, it's like, this could be the last one that I ever do. And so obviously that's just a mindset, and I feel like that's just an game that comes with like being a cinematographer, but it's a real thing. Is like, this might be the last one, and who knows, like, I may not get to do this forever. So I always try to enjoy it. I love what I do, and I feel like just being able to learn as much as I can on all of the projects is so valuable to me. And so I try to do all of them like with a full effort behind it. Whether I'm successful or not, that's at least an attempt.
Yeah, exactly. As long as you're attempting, I think that's really, in my opinion, that's what's important. What bad advice do you hear being given to others in regards to cinematography or the film industry in general?
Okay, I did read this question, and I was like, I was trying to think of something, and I feel like the one thing that like came to mind when you said bad advice was, and I don't think it's necessarily bad advice, but I don't know if it's good advice. So I think when especially when you're like in school, which I went to film school, and then even a little bit after, I feel like a lot of people would say like, the main way to get into the industry is to work your way up and start from the bottom and learn the ropes. And, everyone has to start from the bottom and know all the positions, things like that. Like, I don't think that's necessarily bad advice, but I think there's so many ways to get into what you want to do in film, and I guess specifically cinematography. Like, I AC'd for a little bit in school, but then kind of never touched it again. And the only thing I really do is DP. And obviously I work a lot less than most people because I'm not getting offered, a DP gig every single day. But like, I think just being able to commit to doing one thing and trying my hardest to do that, like, has gotten me, to where I am today. And so, yeah, I don't think that there's necessarily just one, way to go about, doing what you want to do in the industry. And I think working your way up can work. I think I've also had people say like things in the industry have changed, and that's not necessarily like true, that's one of the better ways to go about it. But yeah, that was the main thing that I could come up with. Yeah.
No, I think that's really great, because you make a good point. I mean, things are changing rapidly, and technology makes it happen that much faster. And although you could climb the ladder and go through that route, and a lot of people have done it and will continue to do it. You're absolutely right. If you want a DP, you can sort of just jump in these days. I mean, the Komodo.
With Komodo, you have a cinema camera in your pocket, and you can make, if you know what you're doing, you can make things that look exactly like everyone else is making in the industry. And so I think, just taking that and running with it and being able to jump right in, which, so.
Well, was there anything in particular that sort of helped or nudged you into DPing full time? Like you were saying that you AC just a little bit, where I think in the traditional sense, someone would AC for like almost an entire career and then move up. What do you think helped you become a DP, a full-time DP, like so quickly?
You're gonna laugh. I think honestly, like I just wasn't good at anything else. So like I tried, and again, like if I had done ACing like post college, I'm sure I would have gotten into a rhythm, and doing it every single day, I would have been fine. But like doing it in school, I felt like I did it often, and it was just not like my pace, like in keeping up with all of the like small tasks and attention to detail and the technical aspects of the camera. Like it just like was not for me at the time. And I had done photography since like 7th or 8th grade, so I just felt more natural, like just being in charge of the image, if that made sense. Makes sense. So it was more like, and I also never tried gaffing. Like I had done G&E like a little bit, but was fine at it. Like I think I'm not that this is not an excuse at all, but like I am like a smaller woman, so like it's just I just feel like I can't keep up as much when it comes to like certain productions and things like that. And so I think just DPing like ended up being something that I was good at. And I think even just leadership, because I don't think it's all about the image. Like it comes down to like leadership and just giving people direction and being able to make decisions. And somehow like I would never have considered myself a leader like in the beginning of college or anything, but as I started DPing, I realized like, oh, I can actually do this, and people said that I was decent at it. And so it kind of ended up turning me into even more of a leader, just getting that positive feedback and things like that. And so I think not being good at anything else kind of led me towards that. And I had already done photography and things like that, so it was like, oh, this.
Did you always want to be a DP, or like when did you sort of like fall in love with DPing and cinematography?
I didn't really know what a cinematographer was until college. I think you kind of know, like, you know, when you watch movies that someone does that, but like I didn't even really know anything about film until I went to college. And so I think I discovered it in like sophomore year, after ACing and things like that, just kind of learning all the positions on set, and basically I was interested in just the image in general. So I think just shooting people's like smaller projects and then receiving a lot of positive feedback from those, like instantly, like one of the first projects I shot. So it was like, I think it was the click in my mind of like, oh, like because of doing photography for so long, like I might actually be decent at this. So I think it was just the positive feedback and just starting out kind of like gave me that push that I needed to start exploring the path of cinematography. And it's taken, obviously, light years to go also, but like it's taken years to get to a point where you feel like you have a decent understanding of everything going on set, you know, the technical aspects of the camera, like lighting, composition, movement, communication with like crew and directors. Like there's so much that goes into it, and you know,
Absolutely.
Just jumping into it obviously is like how you learn it. And so I think it just happened in college. Somehow I fell into it.
As we all do, I think. I feel like I meet very few people these days that are like, yeah, when I was, 8 years old, I was playing with like cameras and stuff. Like I really wish that was me. Like I had that story, but I didn't know what a Steadicam was 10 years ago. I can't dream about a career in Steadicam operating if I don't even know what the tool even exists. So in a way, I think we all kind of fall into it.
I feel like there's a lot of people that are like the 8-year-olds with like a Super 8 camera that it's like always made movies as a kid with their friends. So I feel like I'm usually the odd one out, but maybe not. I'm sure it's less than more.
Yeah, I'm super jealous of those people. I wish I had a interesting story like that, but yeah.
Like I just discovered it, at 20.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. In terms of leadership, was there anything that you felt helped you learn how to be a leader, or like any specific like resources that you sort of navigated through, or what exactly do you think helped develop like this leadership that you have?
To be honest, again, like I went into college my freshman year, like I'm an introvert. I would never have seen myself as a leader, to be honest, like 100%. Had never led anything in my life really. And basically started jumping on set as a DP and just having to do it. I think it was like almost a self-discovery, which is so weird, of like that there was a leader inside of me already.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Like I never saw it for myself, but once I started doing it, it was so natural. And I don't know, it was honestly a really weird experience to like learn that I could lead something. And then basically, I think it was in my junior year, which was probably like 2016 or 2017, not long ago. I'm gonna age myself. As a junior, I shot one of the bigger projects at my school. Actually, I might have been I guess I was a junior, but basically we ended up having like 70 people up in the mountains for 2 weekends. So it was a pretty big shoot for a student project, like fairly ambitious. And just having to be like, I've shot like 4 things before this, or five projects, like almost done nothing, but I'm now in charge of like a crew of 25 and have to shoot a project and be one of the main leaders of 70 people up in the mountains. So it was like that was one of my life-changing experiences where I learned what was possible on my end and what I was capable of. It was terrifying. Like I'm not going to say I wasn't like absolutely terrified inside, but being able to carry yourself and push that down and act like you have it all together, that was like I think a big thing for me on that particular project, where it was like I was good at really masking my stress. And I think that's a good thing you have to do, because I think most people in a leadership position on set are stressed, but if you walk around acting like you are, it's going to freak everyone else out. And you need people that are solid and have a good plan in place. And that doesn't mean you're not prepared. There's a lot going on. There's usually a lot of money involved in projects. You're on a time crunch. Like there's so many things that are reason for stress. And so I think being able to walk around and have a calm demeanor and be like a peaceful person and someone that other people can come and confide in for whatever they're doing on set, like it just goes a long way, I think. And I think that was one of the places that I learned that, was like, even when everything is going horribly, it wasn't, but we definitely had like our experiences, but being able to like act like everything is fine and everything's going to be okay, I think goes a long way and helps you get the project done. And yeah, that was a long story.
No, please. I mean, feel free to make as long of an answer out of these questions as possible. But either way, I mean, I think it's you touch on several good points, and I think it's good for people to hear that that you may have qualities in you that you didn't necessarily know, or perhaps weren't currently strengths, but then you do this like trial by fire type of thing, and you kind of like discover it on your own. That's like, oh, now that I'm in this position and it has to work out, I'll just do my very best and we'll see what happens. And I think that's really cool, because what you guys do is certainly very difficult. I mean, I kind of feel lucky because I sort of step in kind of last minute, and the director of the DP have already sort of done all the thinking, and now I'm just here to just like flail the camera wildly. And you guys have done all the real heavy lifting, in my opinion. But other than the camera or lenses, is there any piece of gear or something else that you either keep requesting or feel like you've absolutely need?
As of in the last few months, probably since honestly COVID, because I've still been shooting documentaries kind of through all of this.
Mm-hmm.
The two, I'm gonna choose two. The two main items that like I have always been a go-to now on all of my projects are magic cloth.
Okay.
If you know what,
I actually don't know
just
what
a
that is.
diffusion. It's like I think it's a newer type of diffusion. That's like basically my muslin replacement.
Okay.
So I use magic pretty much for everything. And I love the quality that it puts out. And pretty much always use it as a key and things like that. So that's been one of my go-tos this whole year, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
Okay.
And also Lecos. Like
All
even
right.
recently, like I have just been in love with Lecos and all of the capabilities and possibilities that I have to do with them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a quick light that I can shape however I want and splash it on an object in the background. I can put it on a wall. I can use it as a like I can do anything with a Leco. And so that's been one of my other go-to objects that I've had on all my projects
Okay.
since I started using them, basically. Yeah.
But when you say a replacement to muslin, that's like a big statement. I know that like every DP like
I don't
loves their
think
muslin.
I think you're gonna have to cut that out because I'm gonna get death threats for that statement.
Oh my
No,
gosh.
honestly, yes, muslin is amazing, and I use both. So, but I do
So
love Magic Cloth.
what do you like see a big difference when you use magic cloth as opposed to muslin? And if so, what is that difference?
Not between those two, really. I think, and when it comes to like specifics on these diffusions, I don't 100% know what I'm talking about.
Sure, sure.
I think Magic Cloth is like a little bit thinner, so I can get a little bit more light from it.
Oh, okay.
But what I love about Magic Cloth, like I don't need as powerful of sources behind
Mm,
Magic. But what I love about both, and especially Magic, is the whole diffusion lights up and you don't see like a point source behind it.
okay.
So you can throw pretty much anything behind it and it ignites the whole thing and it's really soft.
Oh
So you're
wow.
not seeing like a specular source behind it or anything, which I love. And it's very like flat and even once you hit it with light. So
Mhm.
it's pretty
That
much
sounds really
why
cool.
I've been, yeah.
Now, with the Lico, do you have a preference over, like, do you use the traditional Lico? I know there's some, at least one company that makes like an LED Lico. Does it make a difference to you?
Uh, Recently, just because it's what I have access to, I've
Hmm.
been using the LED Lecos.
Okay.
And they're RGB, which has been really cool actually. So I'll just use like Luminaire on my phone or
Hmm.
another app that we have and be able to put it anywhere and just control it, DMX it wherever I
Hmm.
want, and can change the color or intensity. So I've been using a lot of that. I do have like a little bit of a problem with them sometimes just because you see like aberrations along the edges sometimes with
Okay.
the LED, all the different colors coming together. Usually we're able to make it work and you can't really tell, but it has had some problems in the past.
Hmm.
Um, but for the most part, it is really nice to have it, connected to DMX so I can do whatever I want with it really quickly. And I'm also
Yeah.
like fairly particular when it comes, I just like to dial it in perfectly myself. It's hard for me to communicate with someone else, like, because I'll play with it for 10 minutes like throughout the day. Like if we're setting up for something, it's like I'll keep going back to it and changing it.
Mhm.
So I like to have access to be able to do that myself too, instead of like annoying like my gaffer and being like, can you dim up on this like 10%? I just want to see what it looks like. So I just just to see things. So
There you go.
yeah, the RGB leaks are super great.
Yeah, they seem just like I guess like the conceptually, it seems really cool because have all the colors now, and maybe they don't like burn gels as much and stuff, or I don't know. You
Oh,
don't
they're
smell like that burning dust Lico smell, that very classic Lico smell that I'm sure people will uh, will
exactly.
recognize. Um,
No, it's yeah.
the whole like DMX thing too is really cool. That's something that I don't really know too much about, like how to use. Um, all that much. How complicated is that stuff, like to set up and all that?
I think I know the bare minimum, definitely. I have a gaffer always here at Salvation Army, and then, which is most of the time where I'm using Lecos all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And also a guy that's kind of in charge of our DMX system and our lighting boards and things like that. But it does get, like, at least in my own head, gets pretty complicated when you start to talk about universes and channels and things like that, when you start to like add all of your lights to a particular project in Luminaire and things like that. So just understanding like how many lights can be in a universe because of how many channels they have, it all starts to like turn into numbers. Definitely like not my strong point, but I've definitely come to understand it a lot better, especially after they've kind of showed me certain things with it. But you know, best case, someone else is setting it up for me, and I just get to like play with my dials and things like that. It's the best,
Salvation Army has the hookups on all the really interesting gear. Then I didn't know that they even had like a, I guess like a department to make videos and things like that.
Lots of, it's mostly documentary. I think they started doing narrative not long ago and submitting to festivals, and yeah, a lot of them are like fairly similar in terms of like, the stories are all super different, but you know, it's all a documentary about how this company has helped people, so it's the same storyline pretty much.
Oh, that's really cool. What is something one could do to add production value to their work that you feel is often ignored?
Production value. I think even things that I have taken into account even more recently, or the last like year or two, that I didn't really realize before, but other people have like ingrained in me, are like production design and color palettes and things like that. Mm-hmm. I think that like, even if someone doesn't have a large budget for a project, or even like the greatest camera, I think if you think about production design and wardrobe and colors, like you can make super interesting images, including like obviously having good light and things like that. But I don't think that ever really clicked in my head until a few years ago. And I think that can up a lot of people's game, is really paying attention to palettes and things like that. Like, I guess, for example, like being in a green pasture, I think an image with, you know, a girl in a red dress is going to be so much more interesting than a girl in like a gray t-shirt or something. I mean, it all depends on the story for sure, but like something is going to really pop in my mind as opposed to, you know, the gray t-shirt, or like, I think it just really matters choosing something that's going to make an image interesting. Obviously, if that's what the story calls for. But yeah, I think that's a big thing for me now.
Is there like, with that being said, is there, when you go into projects now, do you start to think of sort of this is the color palette that I want to use for this specific project? Like, do you really try to lock yourself down to just that and sort of like live within that rules, or how do you approach like the kinds of colors that you are hoping to use for the project?
Honestly, I think that's for me like a big discussion with my directors. I'm sure everyone is, but I like to think that I'm very collaborative. Like, I want, at the end of the day, the director to have the piece that they're looking to make. And a lot of directors do have an opinion, I would say, on color palette and what they want from their piece. At least a lot of times those are really fun to work with when someone really already knows what they want. And so I think it's more of a discussion in pre-production with the team, the production designer, and the director on like what the story is and the mood for the piece. And sometimes there's stricter like guidelines of what the color palette's going to be depending on the project, and other times it's a little bit more loose. It really just depends on the project, but it's nice to have an implemented color palette, just because I think at the end of the day, you're going to have a piece that makes a lot more sense story-wise, being able to tell a story with color and light and things like that. and makes it a lot more intentional. So it depends on the piece, but a lot of times I like to have a structured color palette for things.
Yeah. For production design, what is good production design in your opinion?
Good production design. I think the good production designers that I've worked with have amazing attention to detail. Like, honestly, a lot of the production designers that I've worked with directed initially, which is kind of cool. And I think a lot of them almost they took on the project as if it was their own piece, which it is, and basically wanting it to look its best. So being being extremely involved in pre-production, being able to establish a good color palette, choosing interesting pieces, and being able to work with me and a director really well. Just having, again, positive attitudes and a good coherent direction for a piece in terms of mood and things like that. I think someone that really has an eye for, I think, color and light and things like that are the best, and that understand cinematography to a degree, just because at the end of the day, like, my image or someone else's image is so dependent on production design. And so when a production designer understands palettes and cinematography and patterns and things like that, like, not only does it make my job easier, but it's so nice working with someone that understands what I'm going for, kind of thing. Yeah, I'm trying to think of, I thought I had an example of like, I'll say if I'll tell you if it comes to me.
Okay.
But,
yeah. We'll put a pin in that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like I don't know as many really great production designers. Like, I would love to have more production designer friends.
Me too. Let me know if you know any.
Yeah, right. I honestly don't feel like I know that many, and it might just be because, when you're in camera, you sort of just like deal with the people in camera, and then you don't really like veer off, which is really more my fault than anybody else's. But then sometimes I see projects where it's like the production design is just off the charts. It's like, dang, I really need to know this person because they elevate the project so much, because it's like you can, at a certain point, everyone's working with the same sort of level of lenses, and like everyone's working on Alexa Mini and stuff, and all the having those
same.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's
and
like
production designer, and they make something super interesting. Like, yeah. I was gonna say, like, I'll go for it.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, I get, like, just adding to what I had said about what makes a good production designer. Like, one of my favorite things is when I have a PD that walks in and is like, "Where do you want these lamps?" I always want practicals, like, and I love that when a production designer just knows that, like, a DP is always going to want practicals in a room, depending obviously on the scenario. I don't want anyone to fight me on this. But yeah, like, they just know and understand what a DP needs and wants for, in order to make an aesthetic piece. And I think that's something that makes them great, is just attention to detail and the needs of the people around them as well.
Definitely. What is the best or most worthwhile investment that you've made? Could be an investment of gear, time, or energy.
I would have said time or energy before I got my Komodo. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, well, I feel like I haven't used my Komodo enough to consider it like a really good investment. I'll let you know in like 2 years to see.
I'm sure it's going to be a great investment. So
yeah, hopefully, I think so. I don't regret it yet, so that's good. I think time and energy go hand in hand. I think that that has been my greatest investment over the last few years. I think the people that you work with and the projects you get are the most valuable, thing that you're going to get from your time. And I think that being able to invest your time in, networking, going to events, doing tests, reading books, meeting with mentors, whatever it might be, like, all of it is investment of time in different ways. And I think they all pay off for the same, they're all working towards the same goal. And I think a lot goes into cinematography and, you know, continuing to get projects, at least in my own journey that has been. So I think I've just invested so much time in all of those things, including like in school, it was like internships, meeting as many people as I could, even using Instagram as a tool to meet other DPs, meet other directors. I got projects, you know, with other people in other schools while I was in college, through Instagram and things like that. So it's just like networking and putting time into people, I feel like was one of the greatest things I could have done, and is still paying off today. Like I'm still getting asked to shoot projects from people that I connected with years ago in school or even like right after and things like that. So my own time, yeah, has definitely been my greatest investment, and I think will continue to be for, you know, for wherever my career takes me.
Definitely. So investing time into building relationships.
100%. I think that's the greatest thing, because those are the people that are going to hire you, and if people don't like you, like we all want to work with people that are kind and that we like and that have the same goals. So I think investment in people is going to be the best way to go, and meeting as many people as you can, and making good impressions, and then hopefully being able to work with those same people one day. You never know where it's going to lead again. So it's the biggest part of the industry, I think.
Absolutely. Everyone wants to work with their friends and like you said, work with people that they like. But I mean, you're spending like 12, maybe 12 plus hours a day with all these people. So you want to make sure that it's people that you could, that you just enjoy being around with. So I think that's great. Is there any like particular way that you go about meeting people? I know you mentioned like Instagram, and like I'm sure you like message people on Instagram, but is there any other ways that you felt like you've been able to reach out to people?
I think some of the best ways that I've found in terms of being able to reach out to people and network were going to events, so like the ASC Clubhouse, like Panavision events, Cinegear, things like that. And also just working on sets. So whether I was DPing or doing anything else, like a set was more, like I said, a set was more than just the day rate that I was getting. Like it was all the people that I could meet, and the contacts that I could put into my phone. And you're spending 12 hours with people. So by the end of a lot of projects, you're best friends with like everyone on that set. Yeah. So that's like the best part, is like, if you have a good attitude and you all get along, like you just made a couple new best friends. Like I always walk away with like 6 new Instagram followers because I just spent the day with people, and you're like, you know, you can always pick up on them. And I think that's such a cool part about our jobs, is all the new friends you make all the time, which is like, it's good because you definitely feel spread thin, but it's nice because at least Instagram gives us a way to like stay in contact with people a little bit and see their lives, because you do care about them, but you're like, I may never see you again, but this was a really fun project and we get along really well and we should grab coffee soon. So yeah. I think being on set and being able to establish relationships with people is one of the best ways to go about it. And then Instagram, like Instagram's good. I don't know if I personally reach out to people, maybe more in college. I think just like commenting on people's stories, like there's a ton of people on Instagram that I know but don't know personally, even like you, for example. Like we've never met in person, but I followed you I think we followed each other for a really long time, and so we kind of know each other. We have lots of mutual friends. Definitely. And it's honestly, I think that's such a cool thing, that you can connect with like-minded people so easily, and make friends with people, you know, that you've never even met. And hopefully one day we'll get to meet in person. But like that's such a cool thing, that like that's such easy access for everybody, is like use social media or outlets like that to be able to meet as many people, especially in this weird time with not being able to interact as much. So
it's been tough. It's I guess it's been more, I'm sure everyone's focus has been more on like being online and things like that. I like that you touched on events, because that's actually something that I'll have to take a page out of your book on that one, because I've never gone to like any of those events at all. I just haven't really. I've never been to Cinegear. I've never been to NAB, like none of that kind of stuff. And it's not because I don't want to. I feel like I find out last minute. I'm like, oh, well, I'm already busy and now I can't go. But I think that's a good kind of tip that you bring up, because obviously there's going to be tons of people there that either do what you do, love what you love, or something, have some sort of commonality with you. And, it's like you're diving in and there's a bunch of people to meet, and you never know where that will take you. So.
And what's cool, like, is a lot of them, especially like to me, at least Cinegear and maybe the ASC Clubhouse, like open house, it's like a high school reunion. Like, you go and tons of people that are there, and so you get to see old friends, meet new people, talk to we're professionals, but talk to people that you look up to and that do what you do. So it's such a good experience, and I would encourage everyone to go out. And if we ever have these events again, they're so fun. So I really hope that, like, at some point we get to go back to doing some of them. Those are always a good time.
The ASC Clubhouse, how does that work? Is that just hosted once a year, or is it like more than once?
I just went to my first one, this last one that happened, which I didn't even tell you what month that was now. I think it was this year. Maybe. That was my first one. And yeah, I think it happens once or twice a year. And there were hundreds of people there. Like, it was a really cool event. I showed up honestly really late. Like, I only got like an hour and a half or 2 hours there. But everybody was there. Like, I knew a ton of people. I ran into mentors, like lots of ASC members there. It was just like hundreds of people that it was mostly cinematographers, of course, but I'm sure there was lots of like cam ops and gaffers and other people there and stuff. So it's a really cool event to attend. Yeah,
I'll have to go. Hopefully, fingers crossed, 2021 we'll be able to do something like that. But that sounds really cool to just be surrounded by so many like-minded people that are passionate about cinematography. Yeah.
With drinks and food, like, it's definitely the best of both worlds of just getting to hang out with people that love the same thing as you and are passionate about the same things. And I feel like film and cinematography are such a specific thing in life. Like, most people don't know what it's like to work in film, and so even the hardships of like the amount of days and the work that goes into them and things like that. So it's cool to be able to share that with other people when you go to these events, and you all live the same life for the most part. So
yeah. Well, Alissa, thank you so much again for coming on. I really appreciate it. I know you were busy and stuff, so again, it means a lot to me to have you on and for you to take the time to do this. So yeah, thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. It was nice getting to meet a little bit, kind of face to face, but also not really.
For sure.
Well, that's it for today's episode of Crew Talk. Hopefully there was a few good, valuable pieces of information, stuff that you could take with you and use in one of your future shoots. Also, feel free to leave a comment below if there's anything that I could do to switch it up and make it more enjoyable for you, or have more information or different information in the future. That's it for now. Thank you for watching and for listening, and I hope you have a great day.